everyone, my name's Holly, and today we are going to work on setting the foundation for crow pose or Bakasana pose. So find a space that feels safe and supported for you, and we'll get started. So crow pose or Bakasana pose is a great arm balance, and it's often one of the first arm balances that is taught in a practice. I think a lot of times people get really caught up in finding this beautiful crow pose and lifting their feet up off of the ground, and that's all fine and good, but I think more important than the pose itself and the way it looks in the end is the way you come into it both mentally and physically. So we're going to focus on a few really strong foundational elements to help you work into your crow pose so that you can fly. All right, so first thing is I want you to, if you have any blocks around, grab those. These can be a great support. Have your mat if you aren't already there. And we're gonna start in a Bakasana squat. So to come into my squat, I'm gonna start standing up. Bring my feet about hips distance apart, a little bit wider. My toes are pointing outwards. Just feel the feet rooting down into the ground or the mat. The thighs are rotating inwards. Inhale, I'm gonna reach my arms up overhead. And exhale, I'm gonna push the air down in front of me as I bend my knees and slowly send my sits bones back. Really slowly coming to a squat, getting a strong foundation, just making you burn a little, right? You thought this was about your arms. Maybe it's about your legs. Maybe not. All right, so I am a big believer that you can find all of the elements that are in crow pose start in Bakasana, our squat pose. So key elements that I want you to focus on. Bring your palms together and really push your hands into one another. Feel this really strong connection between the fingers and the knuckles. That's like the really strong connection. So foundation between the hands. Then I'm pushing my upper arms into my knees and my knees into my upper arms. It's like you're creating a shelf, but a shelf with a lot of resistance. It's like really pushing into one another. So this is actually a really good way to strengthen the glutes because my glutes are trying to push in, my arms are trying to push them out. There's some good resistance there. So right now I can feel that my core is not engaged and I'm actually like, my low back and my whole back is kind of hunched over. Important element is engage the core or mula bandha, so really engaging that. Get your chest lifted because where your gaze goes, your body goes. So elements in our Bakasana squat are hands pushing into one another, knees pushing elbows, elbows into knees, and engaging the core, lifting the chest. And then take a moment to settle in with your mind. Not focusing too much on the end result that we're gonna get here, just really focusing on the physical aspects that we use to move into this pose and also the mental ones. Like it doesn't matter if you can end up doing this pose, what matters is the way you move through it. So let's bring it into action for our Bakasana crow. So I'm gonna bring my hands onto the mat. I'm just get my feet back a little. And just like before when my hands were pushing into one another, I'm gonna find that same connection with the mat. I'm gonna feel my knees pushing into my upper arms into my knees as I come on to my toes. I think that helps give a little lift. So pushing into the hands, the knees into the upper arms into the knees, and then really engage the core. That'll help you lift up a little. And then keep your chest lifted because where your gaze goes, your body goes as you start to shift your weight forward into the hands. Lifting up one foot, then maybe the other. And you can just play here. Maybe you come down, maybe at first your knees are closer to your elbows and As you progress, you can work towards bringing up a little higher on the arms. That will involve more engagement of the core. If you're not having this right now, it's okay. You can bring a block behind your feet. So finding those same elements, hands, my bookshelf between my arms, engaging the core. And then you can try lifting one foot up onto the block and then the other. Maybe holding one foot up while the other stays on the floor. And then switch, maybe bring both feet to the block, just playing with height a little. Alternatively, if this is really hard on your wrists, that engagement of pushing into the knuckles and the fingers will help to protect the wrists. You can also roll up the mat a little to give your wrists a little more support. I didn't roll the mat up very well that time. So I'm kind of just rolling this up. Maybe that was too much to give my wrists some support. And I can play with this. Another one that if the height is kind of freaking you out a little, you can play with a baby crow pose. So it's pretty much crow on your forearms. So to play with that, and I actually think it's a little harder, so if you feel like you've really got crow pose down, you can try this, or if your wrists really bother you, this is a great alternative. Also, if that like height is scary for you, this is a good way to step into it as well. But also, it's not that far to fall, you'll be okay. Falling's a part of life. But for our baby crow pose, we're gonna focus on bringing our forearms to the mat, grounding down through the knuckles and the fingers. This is gonna make me engage my core a lot more as I lift up one foot and then the other, and then bring it back down. So that's another thing you can play with. So take a couple more moments to play with your crow, and then just settle into a seat. And let's take a deep breath together, in through the nose and out through the mouth. I hope that you had fun creating that foundation for your crow pose today and that you feel ready to fly. And remember, the pose isn't what matters so much, it's how you move through it. So just keep taking it one day, one breath at a time. I'll see you next time.